Hi everybody, I am Brainjar from Composable, and today I'll be presenting IBC to Ethereum, a reality. A lot of different people say the competition is fierce for IBC Ethereum. I'm here to dispel that notion. So first, reintroducing Composable, we're committed to any money, any chain, anywhere. So really trying to get users to use multiple different applications, multiple different assets, on multiple different chains, using multiple different wallets, with as many ecosystems as physically possible. So we're sort of most known for bringing IBC to Polkadot, but we're intending to also bring IBC to as many ecosystems as possible. Our infrastructure is focused on three core pieces. Picasso is our Kusama parachain focused on CosmWasm and cross-ecosystem DeFi. Our Cosmos chain is focused on becoming an IBC hub and focused on order flow and intent settlement. And our Polkadot parachain is focused on liquid staking and the composable VM. So over the past few months, we've been pretty busy. We launched 2 IBC connections outside of the Cosmos ecosystem. We've done over 7 figures in volume. We've produced a brand new relayer called Hyperspace. We also launched a new Cosmos chain, and we put the Wasm client in production. The journey for this obviously was not easy. The first actual IBC connection we produced was between Kusama and Polkadot, which previously were never connected. And utilizing IBC outside of the Tendermint context, we were able to bring these 2 ecosystems together for the first time before Parity was able to. And of course, as well, we've been quite busy with our integrations, looking at multiple different partnerships and relationships within sort of trying to merge Polkadot and Cosmos together. You can now see our DOT across Osmosis, across Astroport, across SEI, and many other protocols to come. We're also looking to deploy DOT as collateral for things like IST, UMI. We have a bunch of governance proposals out, so I would encourage you all to check those out. So to sort of steward all of this work, we decided to form what's called the Composable Foundation. It's a network of contributors focused on cross-ecosystem IBC, and this setup hopefully will allow us to distribute grants to multiple different projects trying to expand IBC to other ecosystems, and also expand the network of contributors that contribute to this actual vision. So we're all here because of Ethereum, and today I'd like to announce that we're home. Our architecture is very simple. It's using light client verification on both sides and ZK technology to introduce cost effectiveness measures and speed. You can officially, right now, access our testnet, our Cosmos chain producing blocks, go to our Discord, get test tokens, Pika tokens, and transfer them to the Sepolia testnet over IBC for the first time in production. So the website's app.trustless.zone. We also have an explorer that you guys can look at as well. I think it's one of the best explorers in the ecosystem. Shout out to our front-end team, Karina, Gloria, and June for putting this together. So what makes me really excited about IBC Ethereum is, we've talked a lot about bringing Ethereum assets over to Cosmos, but I think a really interesting use case for IBC Ethereum as well is finding a way to actually bring Cosmos assets over to Ethereum. So something like Atom as collateral for DAI, or Atom on Aave, Atom as collateral on, say, Compound. These are expanding the use cases of Atom to multiple different ecosystems in an ecosystem where people are looking for new use cases, new sources of liquidity, new liquidity rewards. So we're hoping that actually bringing IBC Ethereum into production as the first team will bring about not only new use cases for Atom, but this sort of cross-ecosystem DeFi summer. And to push this forward, we're launching an ambassador program. So users will be able to go into our testnet and do lots of different DeFi things with protocols also deployed on Sepolia. And we have sort of challenges and missions. People can group up with teams and sort of compete for a piece of the revenue share associated with the revenue associated from mainnet production of this actual product. We have a bunch of different tiers of different sort of characters. People will be competing to get NFTs of these characters and ultimately a larger share of the rewards pool. So, imagine taking your Atom over to Uniswap or over to Curve or on Pendle. These are things that are actually a reality and are coming much sooner than you think. So we'll be announcing this ambassador program very, very soon. So stay tuned for more. So what's our path to mainnet? So you guys may have seen that we put out a forum post to become a consumer chain. We're interested in trying to put this proposal on chain sometime next week. If anyone wants to speak to me about our proposal, happy to chat after the discussion. But for us, we really see this as a necessary security measure before we continue taking IBC to all of the ecosystems that we have listed here and also more. So ICS for us is sort of a necessity as we begin to expand IBC to as many ecosystems as physically possible. And we see this as a very necessary component for us to continue into the future. So what's next, right? We talk about IBC Ethereum, we talk about IBC everywhere. Why does that actually matter? It matters because, we're here in Turkey where people actually have real issues, real problems, inflation is rampant, and as opposed to sort of solving problems for developers, we're interested in solving problems for real users with actual real problems. So what that looks like is, in a world connected with IBC everywhere, this means something as simple as just submitting what you want to do and having execution just occur in multiple different domains with not really actually even eventually caring about which chain that's actually occurring on. So the first step for this obviously is IBC everywhere. You can see the two integrations we're doing next after Ethereum. And the next thing we built was to actually allow this execution over IBC in multiple different execution environments. So we've built the Composable VM, which you can go to our docs now, play around with. It's currently deployed on Osmosis and our Cosmos chain as well. And we hope to deploy this to as many ecosystems as possible. And what this actually does is allows a user to submit a problem and have this get processed in multiple different ecosystems without having to sort of worry about what these execution environments actually mean. So the steps to actually realize this vision, of course, IBC everywhere, IBC Ethereum, these are all necessary steps we must take, but thinking a little bit higher level, for users, they want to be able to submit a simple string. I want to get my yield on ST Atom, ST Dot, maybe delta neutral strategies, maybe concentrated liquidity strategies. But how many people actually know what any of that means, right? Probably not that many people, maybe people in this room, but not the world. So instead of sort of putting all of this necessary sort of studying into the hands of the users, we've developed a way where solvers can come into the equation, look at a type of problem that a user wants to sort of solve, aka move from sort of one state of the world to another, and come up with the best possible routes to do so. From there, something that's really important for each ecosystem is the way that these bundles and transactions are actually processed, right? And so we're also building a sort of decentralized block builder where all of these bundles get exposed to searchers and sent to the respective ecosystems so that they can be processed in the way that the ecosystem understands how to process them. And all of our processing happens over IBC. So all of this lives on our Cosmos chain. So we intend this Cosmos chain to become a consumer chain with IBC everywhere that also facilitates this processing of order flow. It's become incredibly important over the years for us to actually try to understand how can we compete with the likes of Layer 0 and the other centralized bridges of the world. And I believe that IBC, paired with something like Mantis, will allow for seamless processing of order flow, distribution to as many ecosystems as possible, and most importantly, abstract user experiences that can go directly into wallets, that can go directly into MPC wallets, no signing necessary. That's really the future. So we're hoping that this architecture really powers the Robin Hoods of the world to be able to offer these kind of free experiences to people powered by order flow and settled over IBC. So the way I see IBC is it's so important to put IBC in these different ecosystems because we can enable this. Of course, there's the component of trust minimization, which of course is really important. But the cooler thing about IBC is you now have this ability to introduce this layer of abstraction for users and multiple different applications in the future. So looking ahead, the first thing we're going to do now that we've launched the testnet that people can use is create more use cases. So we're obviously in conversations with different Ethereum protocols, different protocols on Cosmos, different protocols within the Polkadot ecosystem, and try to sort of create these opportunities for people in our ambassador program to actually use. A key piece in this, again, is our path to ICS. So we're interested, simultaneously releasing this ambassador program to also become a consumer chain so that when we're ready for mainnet, and once we've actually put mainnet out, we can onboard as a consumer chain and become the securest connection to Ethereum from Cosmos. More secure than Axelar, more secure than Gravity, and more secure than the other sort of IBC Ethereum so-called competition. So one of the pieces that I also wanted to highlight is Solana. So Solana's become incredibly important to us, over the past couple of months because of the sort of cheap processing framework. I do think there is a future in which a lot of the order flow that's getting settled, lending and swaps, actually does migrate to Solana. And so for us, we've been working quite closely with different people in the Solana ecosystem to try to actually enable Solana IBC. So now if you have this ecosystem of Ethereum, Solana, Polkadot, and rollups as well in the future, you can start to understand what I actually mean by chain agnostic execution, right? So if you're somebody who wants to swap ETH USDC and the pools have relatively the same price, then you would assume that swapping on Solana, where it's much cheaper, probably makes a whole lot more sense than swapping on Ethereum. And so for the first time ever, users will be able to find a way to interact with this sort of chain agnostic experience once we actually introduce Mantis v0. And so sort of recapping, right now you can go to our testnet, you can go to our faucet, interact with our live testnet that has validators producing blocks. You can move Pika from our testnet to Sepolia and back. We'll be launching an ambassador program to allow for all these different use cases to be realized. So I'm really excited to see people, set up pools on Curve, set up different collateral types in different locations, and even start to see pools on, for instance, Osmosis of STETH, which is the real STETH, not sort of Axelar STETH. So these are all very important components to the picture, and we encourage everybody to try to get as involved as possible in the ambassador program. And from there, as I mentioned before, we are looking at ICS. And there was just a panel about ICS and why sort of we think it makes sense for us to become a consumer chain. So obviously the benefits are, for us, that we get quite a bit of security because IBC really lacks this sort of, the only sort of limitation of IBC is you have to trust the chain. And so if a chain gets 51% attacked, not only is that sort of ecosystem now vulnerable to further attacks and IBC kind of breaks, but you also break all of these fungibility paths as well. So ICS for us makes us kind of this hub for IBC. So if you go from Ethereum to our chain and everywhere else, all of these assets sort of everywhere else will be sort of fungible with each other because they've gone through this hyper-secure hub for IBC. So what's the value proposition for validators? Well, I think there's kind of 3 core layers to this. The first layer is we want to bring more use cases to the Atom token. That's really what we need right now. And so having Atom as collateral for DAI, that would be huge, right? DAI is a multi-billion-dollar stablecoin. Having Atom in different liquid staking protocols, and then taking those ST atoms and printing principal tokens and yield tokens on Pendle, that's also a really cool use case. And so hopefully we can see more and more of these use cases appear over time, and that's kind of the purpose of the ambassador program, is to show the Cosmos ecosystem what Atom can actually do outside of Cosmos. And so that's kind of the second core value proposition, and the third is our revenue share. So we'll be passing revenue, 20% of revenues to validators. We have a bunch of projections on our forum post. If you have questions or want to challenge those projections, this is brand new. So we're completely open to feedback and definitely excited to chat to different people about it in depth. And sort of once we're ready, and we believe that the community supports this type of thing, we'll put this into an on-chain proposal. And so, in closing, I just wanted to highlight sort of one key takeaway from this presentation. IBC, Ethereum is cool technology, right? We're doing it, we've done it, we're home. But the next step is, how do you actually solve real problems for real users? I think one of the amazing things about Cosmoverse is it's been in places where people can really understand the importance of crypto. For a lot of us, perhaps, crypto is the way we make a living, the way we do things, but for some of these folks in these different countries, crypto is actually incredibly important. And so the focus of everything that we do at Composable is serving those people, and IBC Ethereum, as you've seen so far, is one sort of small piece of the overall picture. So with that, I'd like to thank CryptoCito and Cosmoverse team for inviting me, and thank you so much. We're home.